Our community journal today, the director of the volunteer services for elder service, Cindy Cullen, and we have three volunteers here who we're going to introduce in a moment. They each have a specialty, and they're going to share their wisdom for volunteering with us, and also how much they enjoy it and why you should come and help them. But Cindy, tell us a little bit about, this is Volunteer Week, is it?
Well, I mean, it begins next week, and I want to thank you so much for having us. This is a great opportunity for us to thank all of our volunteers. We actually have over 1,500. We have two services that we offer. I recruit volunteers for the agency, and we have programs like the Meals on Wheels program. Arlene belongs to the long-term ombudsman care program, and we also have dining help for our senior dining centers that we need help for. And so I recruit for that, and we have a different office, and they recruit for ages 55 and older, and they work for organizations in the community, and they go out and do help for that. So we have a lot of volunteers, and we need them very much, and we can't say enough about them. They get us through. We couldn't do it without them. We thank them, and every year during Volunteer Week, we make a special effort to thank them, and so you're helping me do that, so I really appreciate that. So yes, so we have here today with us Arlene Anderson, who is a long-term care ombudsman, and we have Karen and Jerry Lima, who work for the Meals on Wheels program in Harwich. And I'm so glad that they came, because I think it's a great opportunity for us to discover what their day is like when they go out and meet with our consumers.
Well, we're just talking to Jerry, and he must be well known. He tells me that he's former president of the Newcomers Club. So that's one way to meet a lot of people. Jerry?
It was a wonderful opportunity, and as I was saying, that Karen and I got involved in the Meals on Wheels program because Joanne came to our meeting and solicited volunteers for the program. And I turned to Karen and I said, well, why don't we do that? And we did. We went a couple of times with a former volunteer. He's been volunteering for a long time, and we got accepted. We were queried, and we have our own route now. We do Route 2. And it changes from week to week depending on how many clients we have to service.
You and Karen go together?
Well, she's the pretty face that delivers the meal.
Well, that's always a reason to open the door.
And I'm the guy that drives.
You're the driver.
You're right.
Well, that's a good team effort. And now you do Route 2 in Harwich.
Right.
And that's because you live in Harwich?
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to ask Cindy while we're talking about this, how big an area do you cover?
We cover the entire Cape and Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. We have volunteers all those places. Jerry in Harwich, we try to place people closest to their home. If they would like, they can serve anywhere, but we try to accommodate them as well as their skills for our different programs. We love people who are outgoing and there to cheer up our consumers when they make their visit. We have people also, if they like to work with figures and finances, we have a money management program, and they help people in their homes, and they'll help them balance their checkbooks and pay bills to make sure that they get to stay in their homes.
That's a big issue.
It is,
stay
absolutely.
In their home. People want to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, so like I said, we appreciate everything they do so much.
Now, Karen, when you go into the home, you get to meet these people?
Yes.
And you sort of strike up a relationship with them?
Yeah, some it's harder than others. You know, some just come to the door and, you know, you give them the food and it's, you know, just a few words. And others you go, you know, invite you right into the home, you know, and you have words with them, you know, and it's fulfilling, really, you know. It makes you feel good for the day, you know.
And you're someone for them, you know. Ordinarily, they probably don't have too many people to talk to.
Yeah, and there's been times that Jerry's had to fill in if I've gone to babysit for my grandchildren, you know, for the grandchildren, and
That's a
You know.
big issue.
you know, he would sing, you know, to some of the ladies. You know?
Oh,
A little bonus.
Her name was Lucille, and he'd say Lucille, and she'd tend to be, if the sun was shining, she was happy. If the sun wasn't shining, she was a little down, you know.
and
She also.
Jerry would pick up her spirit.
Well, there was a song, I guess most of us are old enough to remember, Don Amici, Come Away With Me, Lucille,
Right. Yeah.
in my Mary Oldsmobile.
Right.
And, it, you know, she didn't see that well, but as soon as I walked in the door, I'd start singing. And she says, oh, that's you, Jerry. You know, I guess your wife is on vacation.
So they know when you're babysitting.
But
And
what you
the nice, what about the nice story of the gentleman we had that when we brought Abby with us? Abby is our granddaughter.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
How old is she now?
She's 9 now,
9.
but this probably was a couple of years ago, and it wasn't one of our regular routes, you know, but this man was just the nicest man, and he never forgot her name, and he never forgot my name, and I'd only go like once every 3 months or something, just had that knack of knowing everybody's name, and he was in his 90s, you know.
Well,
Great
once in a while,
experience for a 9-year-old.
Yeah, amazing people.
we would fill in sometimes if somebody isn't there. We, you know, I told them if they need somebody on an emergency basis, we're close by. And I have nothing left in life but time, so.
Do you
So he was
volunteer in any other way?
amazing. I've been a Lion for 42 years.
Okay.
In,
Lions Club, I'm
yes.
working with one of your members at the library.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
There's a couple of them that volunteer at the library.
Ray
yeah.
Newman.
Yeah.
And,
Ray's been a member for about 10 years. Yeah.
very good.
Volunteering is a very rewarding, very rewarding. Excuse me. I think you receive more than you give.
Yes, and it's nice to get out. It takes away from that, feeling that you're confined to a home, you know, or to a chair, or to a television, and I think that's very important once we retire to get away from that.
But you know, some people really appreciate. I remember one man, and he wasn't on our route, but he used to tell me, you know, he said, I never appreciated my wife, he said, until she died, he said, and I appreciate everything you do, he said.
Arlene, what's an ombudsman?
Well, that's a good question to begin with, because it's usually the one I have to interpret when I do my visits. It's actually a Swedish word that means to stand by someone. This is an advocacy program that was set up back in 1973 by the Executive Office of Elder Affairs in Boston. And I am in my 11th year doing this as a volunteer, and I'm assigned to Liberty Commons in Chatham. It's a very rewarding program. There is one of us in each of the many facilities on the Cape and the Islands. We have been trained and certified to be ombudsman, and my visits are generally once a week. We do go unannounced to our facility, and it's good to establish a nice relationship with not only the residents but the staff. Generally, a typical day would be that I would receive a listing of all the residents in the facility, and I would particularly target the new ones that had come in since the week before. We have a little card we hand out which briefly explains the program, but our goal is to assure that each resident is treated with dignity, that their needs are being met. Certainly many years ago there was probably more of an abuse issue. We don't see that anymore, but we're able to interact with the residents and ask them just how are things going as far as their care. This could be as far as the attitude of the CNA or the nurses, could be relative to the meals. Do they like the food? It could be relative to lights being answered on time or within a reasonable time, and just about anything that has to do with their care. If we do find a particular problem, we do need the residents' permission to carry that to our contact person, and my contact person is the director of nurses. And so with permission, if someone has an issue about something that's just not being resolved, we go to the contact person. We are not the ones that generally solve the problem, but we're a liaison. We're volunteers. We are not part of the facility that we volunteer in, but we're a liaison between the resident and the staff. And I've always felt that anything that we bring to their attention is going to make the facility look that much better in the long run. But we have Liberty Commons is divided into 3 different units. There's the short term, then there's a long term, and we also have a dementia unit. And I think I enjoy the educational portion with the short term residents. A little easier to interact with them and explain the program, and they in turn can let me know their needs a little bit better. But on the longer term, and particularly the dementia floor, where perhaps the resident isn't able to express their particular need, we use our eyes, our ears, our nose to assess what might be going on. We're always looking to make sure the resident is very clean and nicely dressed, and you can observe a lot just by looking and interacting with them, and they're very receptive. There's a lot of hugs and smiles exchanged, and as Jerry said, I think it's very rewarding. We may give a lot, but we also get a lot in return.
So you're an advocate for the patient between the care provider and the patient.
Right, right.
Yeah. Now, do you also look things over and know whether they need other services?
Yes.
From elder services that
we
you
are
can provide?
in a position to answer a lot of questions like that. Sometimes we may not be the one to answer it directly, but we will refer it accordingly.
Okay. Cindy, you want to make a final pitch for volunteers? Your crew here is certainly an advocate for volunteering. They all presented a wonderful case of excitement and joy and pleasure in taking care of the seniors. And they're seniors ourselves, all of us, of course. We're just helping each other out.
Well, you can see how valuable they are and how much this means to them. And I don't want to do a lot of recruiting because I'm here to say thank you, but we always welcome our volunteers, and we couldn't do it without them.
Are there any particular areas that you feel shortages?
Right now we do have a special need in Falmouth. We're looking for people to work in the dining center there as well as doing the Meals on Wheels driving. Those are 2 needs that we have at this moment.
Where else are there dining services?
They're all over the Cape. Let's see, I know Harwich is strictly the Meals on Wheels, but some sites also offer the sit-down luncheon meal as well.
Here.
You can go in, okay, exactly like that. It's the same thing, and we offer it many places around the Cape where you can go in and have that good, noonday meal of a balanced, nutritious meal. So it's really important to get the word out there that the service is available for people, and we have great people helping them, and it's just a thrill to work with people like this every day. And we work hard during the year to say thank you next week. We formed a committee in January, and we've had monthly meetings. And in anticipation of this effort, we're going to give them gifts next week. They'll get a thank you, and we have made posters. And we consider this is what we want to do for them. I mean, we love our volunteers, and we don't want them to feel unnoticed or unappreciated. So this is how we do it, and I can't thank you guys enough, and thank you for coming as well and sharing your stories with us.
Well, it's nice you get a thank you on television. You will be seen all over the Cape or all over wherever you two go. So get a hold of your relatives. But thank you, Jerry, Karen, and Arlene, and Cindy for sharing your experience and your efforts and your volunteerism. It's a great on your part. It's a great experience on the Cape. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you.